Does that sound like you? Does that sound like your family? Are you going through anything of that sort? Do you have people labeled that way? That creates resentment. And here's the powerful truth. Sometimes unfairness happens when the reliable person gets punished for being reliable. Sometimes unfairness happens when the reliable person gets punished for being reliable. Sometimes unfairness happens when the reliable person gets punished for being reliable. The responsible child gets more chores. The dependable employee gets more work. The mature friend is expected to understand everything. The quiet person gets ignored because they do not want to create drama. That is not fairness, my friends. Fairness recognizes responsibility without exploiting it. Do you exploit family members? What about fairness in friendship? Friendship fairness means that care goes in both directions. An unfair friendship would look something like this. One person always vents but never listens. One person always chooses the plans. One person expects loyalty but gives criticism. One person wants grace for their mistakes but judgment for yours. One person disappears when you need them but expects you to show up immediately for them. If you have a friend like that, you should probably walk away because they're probably not a friend or a true friend at all. A fair friendship does not mean everything is perfectly equal every day, but it does mean there is mutual respect, shared effort, honesty, and care. Mutual respect, shared effort, honesty, and care. Something that we should be doing in everyday life anyways, right? What about in social media? Social media is probably the most unfair place in modern life. People judge clips without context. They believe accusations without evidence. They reduce people to one moment. They demand destruction before truth is known, canceling people out. They give mercy to people they like and outrage to people they dislike. Social media often gives people the feeling of justice without the discipline of truth. A fair person would slow down. A fair person would ask, do I know the whole story? Have I heard both sides? Am I reacting to facts or emotions? Would I want people to judge me this quickly? The first version of the story is not always the full story. If you've ever followed the show regularly, you'll see that when we discuss things on the show, it's not immediate. It might be a couple days or an episode later that we go back and discuss things because the story, the narrative that comes out is usually wrong. And it will usually take a few days for the truth to come out. And then once the truth comes out, the narrative that was initially established is far from the truth. And we see it all the time in the news, on social media, and perhaps maybe in our life. What about fairness in the workplace and in school? Could that be one of the areas that we feel fair versus unfair the most? Could be. So fairness in the workplace means employees are treated with respect, consistency, honesty, dignity, and appropriate accountability. Think about a time you had a boss, if you've had more than one job. What made this boss a good boss? And what made this boss a bad boss? Well, it's probably or maybe we should put it this way. What made you respect this boss and not respect this boss? Maybe that's a better way of putting it. It was probably the way you were treated, right? And the way the boss was consistent in whatever the boss was doing and saying, maybe running the company or leading the group. The boss was honest, dealt with you in an honest manner. There was a dignified relationship between the two of you and appropriate accountability on both sides.